What's up, everybody? My name is Sid, and I've teamed up with the big homie Reg to bring y'all something new, something we like to call Beyond the Scoreboard. Y'all be sure to review, rate, and subscribe. Let's get to it. Making these flips. Welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard. As always, y'all know me, I'm Sid. What's going on, Reg?
Sid, what's up, my man? Long week, bro, and the week just started.
Very long week, Fred. So today we're gonna come to y'all on some NFL stuff as always, a little bit of NBA stuff. We're gonna start with tackling the upcoming offseason for the Indianapolis Colts after they've acquired Carson Wentz and gotten what I think is gonna be their quarterback for the next 10 years. So we're gonna talk about their offseason. We're gonna touch on some NBA stuff. We touched on the Lakers last week and how they were going to be able to make it through this Anthony Davis injury. So we'll touch on that a little bit more. And DeMarcus Cousins officially got released today. So he's free to go wherever he wants to. So we'll touch on that as well. But let's start with the Indianapolis Colts. As I stated, they made news last week by finally getting the Carson Wentz done, something that we were expecting for damn near 2 months, honestly.
Right.
So they have their quarterback. They were already. Did they make the playoffs last year, or they missed it?
No,
they did make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So they were a playoff team just this past season. Of course, Phillip Rivers retired, so you needed a replacement there. We got on here. We talked about Jacoby Brissett. We talked about Cam Newton. They went out and got Carson Wentz. Did we discuss that the fit for him in Indianapolis last week on the show? We did. Right. And we both agreed that was probably the best fit for him, correct?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
All right. So now it comes down to filling out everything else around them. I see that they're fourth in the league right now in cap space.
Mm-hmm.
They have about $43 million available to them. Mm-hmm. They have a good amount of players that need to be re-signed, but none of them are life-changing if they don't bring them back, from what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think or who do you think their eyes will be set on going forward inside amongst the players that they need to be re-signing and players who are just available going into the free agency?
So first things first, when you think of the success of the Colts, you think that defense that overachieved. I was a huge Xavier Rhodes fan a couple years ago when he was ending his days with Minnesota.
Yeah.
And he was able to come to that defense and I don't want to say be one of the better corners in the league, but what they asked him to do, which was to play a lot of zone, he looked great with the Colts. And I know that they have to be wanting to bring him back. They got him for a bargain this past season. And now I know that he's going to be looking probably to double what he made this past season in the future, even if it is for another 1-year deal. So you definitely have to address your corner situation because, they're just to begin with, their secondary is not great or whatnot. And then, of course, you have Darius Leonard when you talk about guys who you have to re-sign. Now, he's not due a new deal yet. He has one more. This would be his final year. No, I'm sorry. He has two more years, I believe, on his 4-year deal. This was only his second year, so he has 2 more years. However, the way he's played, you wouldn't want to even begin to go down this road of, contract talk and negotiations as the season go on. They definitely should make it a priority to go ahead and get this guy signed up right now. Being the cornerstone, being the gem of that defense. Far as re-signing anyone else, right? Now we drop down to the T.Y. Hiltons of their organization. You got Carson Wentz. You have to give him weapons. And definitely need another receiver. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to look into Carson Wentz's career when he was in Philly. And the one thing that he used, the one position he used a lot was the tight end position. I definitely think the Colts need, whether it's in draft, free agency, or however, trade, whatever, they have to address their tight end position. They got Trey Burton over there thinking that he would somewhat fill a role, it was a bust, and they're still looking for a tight end. So if I'm the Colts, I have to re-sign Leonard. Darius Leonard, but I also have to give Carson Wentz some needed offensive skill positions to give him a fair chance to succeed with the Colts.
When I look at the players who they have in-house already, the players they need to bring back, about 4 or 5 of them I look at and say, you got to bring that person back because that person actually matters in a sense.
Okay. Who's those guys?
We're going to start with Jacoby Brissett, somebody who's been in the system, who's a solid quarterback, especially if, a backup. He would be considered, I'm sure, one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league.
Okay.
Go ahead and keep him in-house. Malik Hooker at safety. You got to keep Malik Hooker there like that. You just talked about how that secondary already isn't that great. Yeah. He's probably the best part of it.
Yeah, no brainer.
The punter, Ryan Allen. Go keep your punter. So that's what, 3? The other guy I was looking at was Denico Autry, the end.
Yeah.
Justin Houston, move on from him. Like, he gave you what he had, but they overpaid for him.
I was just about to say that.
So if he's coming back for cheap, great, bring him back. But if he's expecting anything that he was getting beforehand, he can go somewhere else and find it. If I'm the coach,
I agree.
So you keep Autry and you figure out what the market is for Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack was real solid before he got hurt last year, but everything he's given him before last season had been real solid.
On the slip.
But once again, now you have Jonathan Taylor. You still have Naheem Hines. So once again, if you don't bring him back, it's not killing you. But you could get him back on a reasonable deal. You definitely bring him back. Yep. I definitely agree with you with the tight end position. Jack Doyle, Ali Cox, and Trey Burton. That was their 3 tight ends last year. I think the only one they have going under contract going into next year will be Jack Doyle, who isn't. I don't understand how he got paid the way he did in the first place. Well, I understand why, because of Andrew Luck, but he's not a guy who's really a true number 1 tight end to be relying on, especially for a guy like Phillip Rivers last year, who loves to depend on tight ends. He wasn't a guy Phillip Rivers could really depend on.
Right.
I wouldn't be shocked if the Colts look at Zach Ertz being out there on the market and trying to bring in a guy like him. I don't think this is a great tight end market in general.
Correct.
So that may be their best option. T.Y. Hilton is a guy who's still, I'm quite sure, looking for decent money on the market. If I'm the coach, I would look at one of the younger guys who's available, even if you have to overpay a little bit for Chris Godwin or Allen Robinson, any of those guys that we talk about being at the top of the free agency wide receivers this year. They have the 21st pick in the draft. It's going to be kind of interesting to see where they go with that pick, because I could see a wide receiver still being around 21 that could really benefit them. But once again, we talked about their secondary, cornerbacks and safeties. There should be a group of them there for them to take too. So that's definitely going to be interesting. But I feel like the Colts are in a really good spot right now because, for one, you got your quarterback. And once again, I think we agreed on this last week. If anybody can get Carson Wentz back to anywhere close to where he was the MVP season, it's Frank Reich.
Correct.
So that's the biggest thing. And once again, you were already a playoff team. So you hope that this Carson Wentz thing only makes you better. And then once again, it's just about building around him, which you have the money to do, and you don't have real glaring needs.
Right.
So I think they're in a great position to have a successful offseason and put them in a position where you're in the AFC South. Like you can go win the AFC South next year.
Yep. And we agreed on a lot of things. The only disagreement that I had is I want to put emphasis, almost like what you did with Houston. I'm not overpaying for him. If you look at his production last year, it was so-so. You can definitely upgrade. The only way I want to let him out house is if I can for surely upgrade that position. I don't want to allow him to walk and then try to bring someone in that's going to replace him and may get 6 to 8 sacks, kind of injury prone, kind of like how he was before his days with the Colts. So I definitely think that's a position that they will prioritize to actually upgrade at. And Carson Wentz, you think that they have their quarterback of the future, and I'm not too certain about that. If he plays 4 or 5 years with the Colts, whatever, cool, I can see that. 10 years, I don't. I don't think that they are sold necessarily on Carson Wentz's ability to lead a team. I think that it's more like a safe, we have our quarterback who our coach is comfortable with. Our coach knows what he needs to be successful, and this guy wants to be under this guy's leadership. So to me, it made all the sense to trade for him. However, I'm not sold as a fan for 10 years. And you also spoke about, it was one other thing. It was one other thing you touched on.
While you think about it, let me address that one then. So I see him being there 10 years plus because I see Frank Reich being there 10 years plus. As we
Mm-hmm.
discussed, this is a team that was in the playoffs last year. They're a very solid team from top to bottom. They can only get better going forward. As long as they keep getting better, they keep making the playoffs. As long as you win games, your quarterback is going to remain most likely.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're pending, in which most cases your quarterback success is tied to your head coach, then
Mm-hmm. I
they're
can kind
tied
of,
together. I
yeah,
can see it being 10 years of Frank Reich, Carson Wentz winning 10 games a season in Indianapolis
I
going forward.
got you. I got you. And that's what it was. Speaking of quarterbacks, Jacoby Brissett, you kind of said that they definitely need to bring him back. That's a kind of tricky situation to me because as of right now, I think they sit at 40. I think it was 45 million that I seen earlier today. But they have a likelihood of releasing someone, so you might as well say that the cap is about 48 to 50 million dollars
Yeah.
right now.
And
I'm
then,
not.
of course, we don't know exactly what the salary cap is still
Yeah,
next
correct.
season. That could go up.
Correct. But I'm not sure if I'm. It makes sense to bring him back because, of course, he knows the system and all that good stuff. Whatever, whatever. Cool. However, he wants his shot to start. He's looking to at least compete. Them trading for Carson Wentz is not saying that we're giving you a chance to compete.
Mhm.
This dude has the greatest attitude ever. He makes millions of dollars doing QB sneaks, and he love it. He never frowns, but he's waiting on his opportunity to play. So um, I'm not sure if they can even talk him into even thinking about staying and saying you're our guy if Carson Wentz goes down. Like we just traded for the dude, so why would we be looking at it that way?
And I guess my rebuttal to that would just be me and you talked about quarterbacks specifically, just quarterbacks about 2 weeks ago, and neither one of us ever brought up Jacoby Brissett's name. I don't
Hmm.
think there's a market out there for Jacoby Brissett starting quarterback. I think he's going to be a backup regardless of where he goes. And you know how it is with the man. These guys get to one place, most likely they want to stick there. He's comfortable in what he's doing.
Hmm.
They paid him nicely the last go round to
Hmm.
be or to compete to be a starter.
And I was about to say that was the difference I felt. I felt last year they signed Phillip Rivers.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. They just traded for a quarterback, which
Mm-hmm.
means like you're looking at it, we see ourselves tied to this guy for the rest of his career, at least the better part of his
Yeah,
career.
that's the
So
hope anyway. Yeah.
correct. So, and he's definitely when I say leave, it's not just I'm leaving to go start because, like you said, the market isn't there necessarily for
Mm-hmm.
him. However, there may be a market for him to compete for a starting job. It may be a market where okay, I have a better chance at getting paid and the likelihood of playing elsewhere. And I definitely could see that come up, for the Colts and Brissett. But no matter how it go, they can definitely address the backup quarterback situation.
Yeah, and once again, like I don't see there being a market for him. I guess theoretically, of course, something can always happen to
Yeah.
where it is. There
Mm-hmm.
could be the Patriots come calling, hey, come on
Mm-hmm.
back to New England and let's,
Yeah.
give it a shot. So there's definitely opportunity, but I think not knowing him, but seeing him over the years, and like you say, man, that's a guy who's not gonna complain. He's gonna get in. He's gonna do his job. He's not outrageous or anything like that. I can definitely see him. All right, let me stick around with the Colts and
Yeah.
see what we can go from there.
Yep. So we're on topic about the Colts. The only thing that we kind of disagree on so far is really the Carson Wentz thing, which is nothing new.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the free agents, and we know the Colts holes that they have to fill on their teams, positions that they can definitely stand to upgrade. Who are some free agents that may be out there that when their name come to your mind, you say, you know what, the Colts can definitely use that guy?
And we're gonna go. I'm gonna go ahead and start what we just talked about just a few minutes ago when we're looking at the wide receivers that's available. Any of those top 5 or 6 guys, I think would be a perfect fit for the Colts. Whether you're looking at Chris Godwin, Juju Smith, Corey Davis, um, like I said, Allen Robinson, like any of those guys, who I feel most of them, Juju is kind of a toss up right now, but the rest of them are really number one receivers.
Okay, cool.
Which T.Y. Hilton is, but once again, if you're gonna pay T.Y. Hilton average wide receiver money, go ahead and get you a true number one that's going to last you for longer and one of these other guys. So Chris Godwin would be my number one target
Definitely.
if I'm the coach. I could definitely see them making a big push at him.
Mm-hmm.
The second guy I would be looking at is Trey Hendrickson. We just talked about Houston being gone, and I said bring back Archery as a safety blanket just in case you can't get anybody else. But you gotta make a push at one of these pass rushers, whether it's Trey Hendrickson, Shaquille Barrett, any of those guys like that. Because once again, if you're letting Houston walk, which once again you should, if the money not right,
Mm-hmm.
then you're gonna have to find somebody to replace him and hopefully give you better production than what he's giving you. So I would look at, like I say, Trey Hendrickson, Shaquille Barrett, and guys in the interior when you're looking at guys who's going to become available, like Sheldon Rankins, and guys like that.
And got me
Yeah, he's another one.
Yeah, good pick over there.
So wide receiver and that D line, or pass rusher, whichever way you want to look at it, those would be the first 2 positions I would think that they would start reaching out to. I think we agree on the secondary market. It's not outstanding this year. There are players out there to be had that can be solid and start for you. But like I say, if I'm the coach, I think at 21, I'm really looking to take a corner. If a corner's not really that I really like, then let me get a safety. But as soon as free agency opens, I'm making those calls to those DNs, pass rushers, and wide receivers.
Definitely, I totally agree. It seemed like doing this show we agree so much now versus just phone conversations. But if I'm the coach, I refuse to even imagine Trey in anything besides black and gold. However, if I'm the coach, I'm definitely on the horn trying to get him over there. That makes all the sense in the world. Now, as far as the receiver go, I don't like Juju over there. The only 2 receivers that I want if I'm the coach is Godwin, which they probably going to step up to the plate and offer $20 million per year. And the next guy is Allen Robinson, that they probably step up and pay 16 to 18 million for. Outside of those 2 guys, I don't want a Corey Davis. I don't want a Juju. Not because they're not good at what they do. They're just not true number ones. Until Michael Pittman can come around and show, hey, I'm here, I'm for real, have a complete season of, I don't want to say dominating, but being productive. I think if you're the coach, you don't want to go into the season feeling like you have 2 comparable number 2 receivers. You want that threat.
And my thing about that is when you look at an Allen Robinson, for sure, he's more of a possession receiver. these days. And Michael Pittman is too. Michael Pittman is going to be a possession receiver. I don't want my top two guys being possession receivers. That's why, like I say, Chris Godwin will absolutely be my number one. And if you can't, then you bank on the progression of a Michael Pittman and you add a speedster, kind of like a Corey Davis or what's another guy that Will Fuller, I think,
Will
is
Fuller's
available.
available.
A guy like that, yeah.
Yeah. But see, the thing about Allen Robinson is I don't think he get the credit that he deserves. I'm not trying to get off topic with the Colts. I just don't think he get the credit that he deserves. Versus number one DBs, the last year, the year before last, he always does good against them. Like,
Yeah.
I understand he's not a speedster, but he's a exceptional route runner and he has phenomenal hands. Absolutely. I think his lack of QBs is reasons that other NFL fans may not know him to be such a great receiver. However, when I'm watching him versus Lattimore, who had a great year, he was one of those receivers that kind of worked Lattimore over a little bit. But I just think if he gets with a quarterback, not saying that Carson Wentz is top five, but Carson Wentz probably may be, let me think about it before I go on the stretch, may be the best quarterback in a sense that he's played with.
I'm trying to think of who was he there for Cutler, the end of Cutler with Allen Robinson?
He had Jacksonville. He had Blake Bortles in Jacksonville.
I forgot he was in Jacksonville. Yeah, I forgot Jacksonville.
And he came over with Mitch Trubisky in Chicago.
Yeah. So he would definitely be the best quarterback he's played with thus far. And once again, I'm not knocking Allen Robinson. I like Allen Robinson, but like I said, I don't like the idea of two possession receivers. If I'm going to be paying a number one as a number one, and I already have a guy like Michael Pittman who I want to be my number two, I need I need somebody who has some type of speed to him. He ain't got to be. He doesn't have to be John Ross or Will Fuller, but Chris Godwin's speed is enough to make that difference,
I think John Ross is available in free agency as well this year.
He is, but I'm not sold on him just because of his injuries over the past, ever since he was in the league, honestly.
Right. Hunter Henry was a guy at the tight end position for me.
Yes.
To me, that makes all the sense in the world for the Colts and so many other teams. Hunter Henry is one of those guys. I can't even call him a sleeper because people know who he is. He's very productive when healthy. That's just another guy that you're banking on. Is he going to stay healthy to actually help us come, end of the season, playoff push, whatever? Will he be there? If available, Hunter Henry will be a great addition to the Colts or any other team.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. He's obviously the best tight end available. And like you say, the only worries you have with him is injuries. You wonder if he can stay healthy or if you can keep him healthy. And if you think that you can, then he's absolutely worth the money. Like I said, I think he's top 5, top 6 tight ends in the league.
Yep. So before we move on from the Colts, I spoke about Darius Leonard. What's the max per year you're willing to give him this season if you're the Colts? If you want to go ahead and resign him now.
If you want to go ahead and resign him now. So what's the last linebacker that got paid that wasn't a pass rusher? Because of course that sets the market. That sets the market right there.
Can't even think.
I'm about to look it up right now. So I personally see him as
Jalen Smith come to mind.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He did just get paid, but I don't think he
maybe
was.
2 years ago.
All right, so Bobby Wagner is making 18. C.J. Mosley 17, Zach Cunningham 14, Miles Jack 14, Deion Jones, Shaq Thompson, they all at that 14. Jalen Smith got 12. If you can get away with giving Darius Leonard 12, you're getting away with first.
That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
So you at least giving Darius Leonard 15.
Oh, up top, yeah.
You at least giving him 15. Like I said, Bobby Wagner is at the top at 18, and C.J. Mosley somehow is getting $17 million a year.
I forgot about C.J.
Yeah, he's getting $17 million, but everybody else is below $15 million. So you're starting at 15 with Darius Leonard.
Yep.
Darius Leonard is what, 25 maybe? He may
25.
be 25. So you want to lock him up for 4 or 5 years.
Definitely.
I can see him getting at least 17.
That's why
I
I'm
can
at.
see 17.
I actually got him maxed out at 18. He's phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
Top of the line linebacker. He's a stud. He's one of those for sure can't miss guys. And that's what I got him at 17 to 18 million dollars.
Yeah, I can absolutely see him at 17. Yep.
And I feel the next player, like I said, who played phenomenal, definitely outplayed his contract. At times, he looked like the best corner on that team for a stretch with being Xavier Rhodes. If you're the coach, you like what you saw. He's a free agent. You only signed him for 1 year, playing it safe. What's the max value you're willing to go per year for Xavier Rhodes?
So we differ on Xavier Rhodes. Not that he didn't have a good season. Like you say, he had a phenomenal season for them doing what was asked of him. But I personally would treat him just as a Justin Houston. There's definitely a cap on what I'm willing to pay you off of the same conversation we had with Trey Hendrickson. This is the first year that he's really burst,
awesome.
flashed. And now we gotta decide if he's worth paying $12 to $14 million a year based off of that one season. So Xavier Rhodes, he came over here, he fit in our system, he did exactly what we asked him to do, but are we willing to overpay him? Probably not.
You don't think so?
I don't think I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I would probably, if I'm the secondary or the defensive coordinator coach over there, I'm probably saying that's my system. He just fit well. I can get another guy that's gonna fit well, a younger guy that's gonna fit well.
So if he leaves, right, already thin secondary, if he leaves, then that put pressure on you to go get a guy who you feel can do just as much as he's done or better. So which probably result in you using your first round pick on the best corner available, possibly trading for one, or overpaying for another corner. Patrick Peterson is the first guy that comes to mind.
And I'm thinking, who was I just thinking of? A more average corner, Bradley Roby, I think is available.
But both of those guys are man corner, so you see what I'm saying? You're gonna have to step up and pay. Even Bradley Roby, you're gonna have to step up and pay.
Yeah.
So it's basically like, do you go and what you think for Bradley Roby? What you thinking?
More than what he deserves. Let's say he gets 12. Let's say Bradley Roby gets 10 to 12.
Okay.
Yeah, once again you're gonna overpay these guys regardless. Yeah. Xavier Rhodes, he's only 30. I keep imagining that he's a little older than that, but he's only 30.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, if you do overpay him, say you really want to keep him in-house, you want to see if he can redo what he did last year, it has to just be a 1-year deal again. You have to only roll the dice on him for another 1-year deal. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't get into a fight with another team trying to sign him for three years.
Yeah. And see, that's kind of what I was thinking. Per year max, I'm not going past $8 million max. Yeah. Need him. I feel like if we have a corner, we talking Super Bowl. If I'm the coach, it would be great to get him for $6 million. But I think realistically, I could see someone stepping up and giving him $8 million per year. So instead
of make this past year, do you know?
Oh, it was ridiculous. It was something like 3, maybe.
Oh, okay. They got low.
That's what I'm saying. He definitely outplayed that contract. So him just giving you one season on the low, he's definitely going to be looking for a better payday. And like I said, his salary has to double.
At least. Yeah.
So if you tell me I have to bite the bullet and sign him up for 2 years, 16 mil, 10 mil fully guaranteed, whatever the case is, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, so I'm looking at it now. Bradley Roby made 10 this year. He made 10. Malcolm Butler making 12. Yeah, see, man, it's so hard with cornerbacks. Somebody's going to reset the market this year. Jalen Ramsey had got his 20. This past year, at the beginning of this past season, he came in with 20, and Marlon Humphrey with 19. Tre'Davious White's making 17. He should be more than that. But yeah, so the cornerback market is definitely going to be interesting because I personally believe that our guy is going to probably reset the market, Marshon Lattimore, this offseason because they're going to go ahead and decide to extend him.
Yep.
So cornerbacks is always a tricky one. Janoris Jenkins only made $7 million this year, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, like I say, man, at Justin Houston, Xavier Rhodes, if you could keep them for a decent price, great. Like you say, if he's just asking for you to double his last year's salary, sign him up for sure immediately. Like don't even think about it.
Yeah.
If he's saying six mil, I can even go 8 with you. If he's saying 6 to 8 mil, let's do it.
Yeah.
But I would be cautious of doing it for more than one season.
Gotcha. All right, that's all I have for the Colts.
Something me and you talked about off air earlier, which was the Nick Underhill article for ESPN, which was talking about the New Orleans Saints and the 3 guys that's basically the trio that is they were looking to have to figure out something with them one way or another this offseason. Those 3 guys being the guy we just talked about, Marshon Lattimore, Ryan Ramczyk, who both are going into 5th-year options. And I'm quite sure everybody involved would like to get a deal hammered out before going into that 5th year. And Terron Armstead, who is finishing up a contract. I think the last contract we gave him was top left tackle money, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say he made about left at the time. He was making
every year. I know he made upward of 10 slightly, and I think this final year he played out about 11 to 12 million, and I want to say 30 million was fully guaranteed for the contract.
Yeah, so all 3 players, all 3 of those players are top of their position.
Right.
So you're looking at what? You're looking at realistically $20 million for each of those players is what they could demand on the open market.
Demand and get is 2 different things. I think
for sure Marshon Lattimore and Ryan Ramczyk is going to reset the market. Ryan Ramczyk is going to be the highest paid or tied for the highest paid tackle in the league.
And he deserves it. He deserves every penny of it. He's phenomenal.
I think Marshon Lattimore is going to get $17 to $20 million. I don't think he falls under that.
That's the one that I'm not sure about. I definitely think that he's going to get paid. If he wind up getting 15 to 16 million, it wouldn't surprise me. But like you said, he have every right to walk in asking for $20 million. He have every right. You have to start high. Hell, if he want, he can start 22 if he want. But realistically, I'm saying, whether it's us wrapping him up this season, which if we put $16 million in front of his face today, it's hard. It'll be hard to me. It'll be hard for him to walk past that and continue to make what he would make for his fifth option. So I can see us. I can see us getting all 3 guys back for $50 million.
Yeah.
But that's very unlikely, simply because the age and the injury history for one with Armstead. I love Armstead.
Yeah.
He still get the job done. He's very serviceable. He's not a slouch. He doesn't get beat. He's not one of those linemen that's heavily penalized every year. He's phenomenal.
Very athletic for a tackle. Yeah.
Even in his draft, even for his draft class, he was the fastest offensive lineman. I want to say he ran like 4.67 or something like that when he ran the 40. It was something crazy. But he's great. And just being a Saints fan, you know me, I get emotionally tied to some of these guys. But this is one of the situations where the guy is actually still productive. It's just that the financial side of things get into it. We spoke off air, and like you said, I could definitely see a situation where they try to kick Ram to left tackle. It makes all the sense in the world.
That's the left tackle, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And if this is the thing, let's say, for instance, Andrus Peat was playing tackle or could play tackle, like we drafted him to do, it would make all the sense in the world. It would be a no-brainer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if one had to go, of course it's Armstead. I just would hate to see him go. He's been a very great player for our organization. He's been very professional, and he's one of the guys you could count on every Sunday. So it would be tough to see him walk.
100%. And like I say, keeping all three guys is very optimistic at this point, and I'm not gonna fall into that trap. I'm gonna go ahead and be willing to part ways with one of them now and save myself some heartache. And like you say, the obvious choice there is Terron Armstead. He's the oldest at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's too easy to kick Ramczyk out to left tackle and go and draft another right tackle. Or like you say, try your chances at Pete.
No, don't do that. Those days
try your chances at Pete since you got him for 3 more years at this point. Bro. Try to figure that out some more. But Terron Armstead would definitely be he's the guy. Like you're gonna have to move on from him unless he loves New Orleans enough to come down to 15, less than that. Which maybe like I say, man, looking at it now, like you say, he averaged about 11.5 throughout this contract. This last season, he made 16.
Wow, he made 16 last year.
Yeah, he made 16 this last season, or he's going to make 6. He's going to make 16 this next season. Actually.
Okay.
He's going to make 16 this next season. So if you're telling me he just wants to stay around that 15, 16 mark, then yeah, let's try to figure that out. But he's definitely the one who's looking like to be the most likely casualty in this. And once again, he's one of the best in the league. So the get back for him is going to be good. You're going to get good draft picks back for him if that's the way you elect to go. But like I say, he's not one of those guys you want to let go of easily.
Right.
So now back to some NBA talk. Unless you had anything else in the NFL you wanted to touch on.
Nope.
All right, so
some heartache.
So last week we talked about the Anthony Davis injury and how it would affect the Los Angeles Lakers going forward. Since then they've dropped 3 straight. 3 straight. They've lost 3 games. They lost to Brooklyn 109-98, Miami 96-94, and last night they lost to Washington in overtime 127-124. Which airs on the side of what you were saying last week of them falling further than what I believe that they would in the midst of missing Anthony Davis. But to me, if Schroeder had been playing, those games would have played out differently, at least the last 2. The Brooklyn game, probably not. But the Washington game and the Miami game where we lost by 1 possession, I feel like both of those games might have played out differently if Dennis Schroeder was there.
I got you.
Which he's probably going to miss at least because his COVID test came back negative. He still got to sit out about 7 days. So I think he's going to miss 1 more game. We got Utah tomorrow.
I think it's 2 more.
Well, I think it's 1. I think he should be back Friday. Yeah, so tomorrow would be the last game he'd actually miss, which once again is Utah. So as we stand right now, 20% after losing 3 straight. 3rd in the West right now, but you still got the same record as number 2 and number 4 at the Los Angeles Clippers and the Phoenix Suns. How do you see that? Do you see that as I'm looking at it as well? Schroeder is really what made the difference in those games. Of course, if Anthony Davis is there, then that completely changes everything. But with him not being available, not having Schroeder on top of that is really what sunk those 3 games over the past 5 days. That's something else I mentioned to you the other day. The fact that we play in a game every other day ain't help us in that stretch at all either. Or going forward. Because like I said, we play tomorrow, we turn around, we play Friday, and I want to say we play Sunday again. So this every other day playing ain't really helping us at all either. But do you view that the same way as I do, or is that my fandom getting in the way of things?
It's a little bit of both. So it came more down to LeBron James to me. Me just being a LeBron James fan, knowing kind of like his pedigree or whatnot, what causes him to get up, what causes him to kind of take a step back, if you would say. That's more what I thought about it, to be honest with you. Anytime you lose Anthony Davis, of course you're not going to be the same. I hate when people say the Lakers are better defensively without Anthony Davis. Bruh, stop it. Like, I don't care what the stats say. I don't care what the numbers say. That doesn't make sense. Stop it. It's Anthony Davis. He's a defensive player of the year candidate every year. He's great weak side. He got good feet work for a big man. He could play the 4. He could play the 5. Like, stop it. So, anytime you're missing him, of course your team is going to come down a little bit. But like I said, not having anyone, like that's what I was looking at. You don't have the guy who I felt like can control the game along with LeBron James. Schroeder's great for what he do. I'm not going to lie.
And that's what we differ, because I feel like Schroeder is that guy, and that's what we differ.
He's definitely surpassed my expectations already. I didn't think he would play this well with LeBron James. So I have to, take my hat off to him to say he's by far the third best player on the Lakers team at this point. But far as them sinking games, this was more to do with LeBron James. To me, even if I think even if Dennis Schroeder was there, they may have not lost 3 in a row. But I think we will still see the Lakers not play up to the level that we assume they would with the loss of Anthony Davis.
And like I say, this is about on par for what I imagined without Anthony Davis, because it's what we were seeing with Anthony Davis, because he wasn't playing that well. It's still us either battling back in third quarters and squeaking out victories, or teams battling back on us in third quarters and then squeaking out victories. And the difference between those victories rolling our way and rolling the opponent's way in the past 3 games, it's easy to point out and say, well, no Anthony Davis, no Dennis Schroeder. If they had one of those guys, it would probably be going the other way.
But see, what I see is the defensive side, because to me, the Lakers is one of those teams, when they decide to get up and play defense, they do it at a very high level. So a lot of times when you look up and you see the Lakers playing down to their competition, it's 4 quarter and they're in a shootout with Phoenix or whatever the case is, like you just said, last 5 minutes of a ball game, they kind of, clamp down and they're able to escape with a 3-4 point victory. And now they're not able to do that. So you remove Anthony Davis altogether from the lineup, the one guy who's going to play a fair amount of defense, who's going to, more than likely make 50% of his shots and things of that nature. I just don't like, the Lakers' chances going forward without him. I don't think that they're one of the better teams. At some point, LeBron has to struggle. He's been so great all season long. At some point, he has to come back down to earth and somewhat play like a 36-year-old that he is. And to me, you remove Anthony Davis and boom, the writing's on the wall. LeBron's asked to do more. He has to play a little bit more defense. He can't necessarily control the game the way he wants to, far as the energy that he exerts all game long and things of that nature. All that kind of stuff is mostly out of the door when, you don't have another star to count on.
Yeah, and like I say, man, it's interesting. Let's see, this is what we get into our arguments here. The NFL, we agree on a lot. The NBA, that's what we're going to disagree, I see. And I once again, this is an NBA where, for the most part, it comes down to who's the best player on the court, unless you're playing Brooklyn. Basically, it comes down to, and LeBron is still that most nights, in and out. But once again, when you take away his second and his third option, it's only so much that you're going to do. It's only so much that he can do. For these to even have ended up being one-possession games, the last 2, like I said, the Brooklyn game, I'm not even worried about that. But the Miami Heat game and the Washington game, for those to even come down to one-possession games, I feel like that's a completely different story if Schroeder is in the lineup.
I feel you. And see, even the Brooklyn game, I feel like if you have AD, right? If you have AD that game, you're able to keep it closer. I'm not saying you win,
absolutely.
But to be down 20 that early, and
Mm-hmm.
and Brooklyn was making everything that they put up. It was
Absolutely.
one of them nights where whatever they decide to shoot, they couldn't miss.
Yeah.
But with Anthony Davis on the floor, you're able to keep the game closer. You're able to have another starter go through. So when fourth quarter come and you find yourself down maybe 10 at that point, or even
Yeah.
if it was 15, whatever, it wouldn't have been 25 and all that, stuff it was
Mm.
without Anthony Davis. You're closer to rally.
Yeah.
But I
And
tie.
I don't disagree with that. The only disagree in general is that's Brooklyn. Like that's a team that's going out there and they putting up 140 points a game.
Mhm.
So and my thing is, let's look at the rest of the NBA. Let's look at the teams that aren't Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And is there enough when there's LeBron James and Dennis Schroeder, even though you're missing Anthony Davis, to pull out those victories against those teams?
And
That's
I think
yeah.
I think they are.
Yeah, me
I,
too, and that's all I care about. Like I say,
okay.
if 7 game series was starting tomorrow and we had to go up against the Clippers, then I'm worried. You
Mhm.
know, well, shit, against most of the teams in the West without Anthony Davis, I'm worried. Clippers, Nuggets, any of those guys. But for these 1 game sample, yeah, Dennis Schroeder and LeBron James, and whoever's going to show up as the third, Montrezl Harrell or Kyle Kuzma or Taylor Horton Tucker, whoever's going to show up as the third, I'm comfortable in that being enough to win that game.
Okay. Yeah, and we just disagree there. That's
Yeah.
definitely where we part ways.
And like I said, we'll definitely see. Like I say, tomorrow night should be the last game Schroeder misses
Mhm.
against Utah, and then he'll be back, and we'll see what the difference is when it comes to that.
Definitely something we'll keep our eye on.
All right, so DeMarcus Cousins was officially released today to where he can sign with any team, giving him his freedom, which once again was odd to me that they guaranteed his contract. They have nothing but glowing reviews of him, of his 25 games with them this season, but they just want to play smaller basketball, basically something that Houston's been dedicated to over the past few years for whatever reason. So DeMarcus Cousins is a free agent. The first reports that I'm seeing is the Lakers are unlikely to pursue him, or not to. I wouldn't say that they're unlikely to be a match just because DeMarcus Cousins is looking for more playing time than what our Los Angeles Lakers could probably offer him at this point. We talked last week about good landing spots for him. So let's scratch the Lakers off of that list.
Are we sure that we said scratching the Lakers though?
I'm
Because
saying let's do it. I'm saying let's do it just because to me, a team like Brooklyn or Boston, not Boston so much, but there's a good opportunity for him in Boston.
very good.
If there's any team that we looking at and saying they need a big man, that team is Boston right now.
True.
So even though they might not actually have a true chance to contend like the Lakers and Brooklyn, I still feel like that's a great situation for him and for that team. So just because there are teams that are close enough to the Lakers at this point that can use his services more, I feel comfortable saying that the Lakers are probably out of it. Like if he can go get playing time for a team that's still gonna be playing uh close to conference finals, then he should probably be taking that opportunity, in my opinion. So let's scratch out the Lakers. I think last week your top spot for him was Boston, right? Was it Boston?
Mhm.
And that remains the same.
Yep. And it's just like you just spoke about opportunity and availability. If he walks through the door, he's probably the best five they have, and they probably not going to have any choice but to allow him to play the most minutes that it makes sense
Yeah.
that he can handle. So if you're telling me that he's better than what I already have, it's a no-brainer. It's
Yeah.
not like Boston is one of those teams that's going to find themselves outside of the playoffs. So it just makes sense. It's a safe signing. It's just, will he commit And I
Yeah.
have no choice but to say yes, knowing his situation. He don't have a whole bunch of opportunities. It's not like everybody's lining up trying to get him. So if Boston, reaches out to him, I have, all the hope that he will take advantage of that situation.
Okay, and we agree on that. I think Boston is probably. I think Brooklyn is the best place for him. If we're being completely honest, I think Brooklyn is they. Over the past month, they've signed about every free agent big off the street that they can to try and give them some of what they missing in the middle. And obviously, ain't none of them working. DeMarcus Cousins is clearly the best available at that position. I think once again they have a championship caliber team. Obviously, when you got Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, and you can sit one of them on any night and still put up the same offensive efficiency that you do with all three of them. So adding to DeMarcus Cousins just gives them more firepower.
Yeah.
And it shores up a position of where they're struggling at, but just not as much as a Boston. I think he would still walk in and get majority of time at center for that team. So I honestly do think Brooklyn is probably the best situation for him if they have any money at all to give him to bring him in. But I like Boston better just because, like I said, I think he makes the bigger impact in Boston.
And I think it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna come down to him being able to reestablish his career. It's not necessarily about winning a title or going out with a bang, anything of that nature. For him, he's trying to reestablish himself and remind the rest of the NBA and players and teams that, hey, I'm still DeMarcus Cousins. I still can be a serviceable big man. So he has to rectify his career in a way, and I think Boston allows him the best chance of doing that.
And I don't even really think that's the case at this point. I think this stint that he's had with Houston has done him a lot of good towards that. Towards people
Definitely.
looking at him and saying, "Oh, he's serviceable. Like, let's bring him in." So even if he stayed with Houston for the rest of the season, I think next year he gets back into a position where he has choices, he has options to really make some money and return as being a serviceable big man.
Yeah, and see, I think that he can play slightly better than what he did in Houston. But like you said, if Houston was what you was going to get, teams was definitely going to give him a shot next year. But I think that he can possibly play even better than what we saw in Houston. That's why I'm saying, if it's a team like Boston that needs a five who get no buckets at all by throwing the ball down in the paint, then I think he takes advantage of that because he's playing with other great players as well, in that system. So I still like him best in Boston. I can definitely see him in Brooklyn, but I just think that far as he goes as credibility and being able to find his own shot and things of that nature, to me, he just doesn't do that in Brooklyn. They could win, but for as him as an individual crossing off his checklist, things that he wanted to do this year, which is, I don't want to say kind of recreate himself, but just show that he still can stay healthy and play basketball. I don't think he can do that in Brooklyn.
So, two teams that have been listed as top landing spots for him that we haven't discussed this week or last week. One of them is the San Antonio Spurs. I don't really get this one. I guess I get it for him as a player. If he, like you said, if he's just really trying to reestablish himself and show that he can be something close to what he once was, then yeah, all the opportunity in the world is there in San Antonio if that's the case. The other team, which is interesting to me, is the Dallas Mavericks. That is an interesting one for me on two different levels. One, because if you plug him in on side of Porzingis, that takes a lot of pressure off of Porzingis and what he's under pressure to give them on a nightly basis.
Definitely.
The second way that I look at it is Porzingis, his name has started to be shopped around by the Dallas Mavericks to see what it is they can get for him. So depending on what Porzingis can bring back to a Dallas, and then you replace basically, of Porzingis with a DeMarcus Cousins, that's also super interesting. Dallas is a team that I never would have thought of, and honestly, as constructed now, I still don't really like it. But if they're able to move on from Porzingis and get something back for him that's better for their team, and then just plug in DeMarcus Cousins, I really do like that fit.
Yeah, we shall see. I'm not huge on it simply because Dallas, they don't have the defensive presence. To me, they're kind of more hit than miss for him as a player. I definitely like him fitting in more with Boston. And I'll throw something at you. I would like to see him, and I think he would fit in and contribute more to the Lakers than what he can do with Dallas.
Really?
Yep. I think he fits in better with the Lakers.
I don't know. That's interesting to me. Like I said, I definitely see him being a fit in Dallas, even alongside Porzingis, whether he's there or not. Like I said, if he's there, then you're able to play Porzingis. You're able to play Porzingis out of the post more often.
If you're telling me that I have Porzingis, then yeah, I like the fit.
You're saying without Porzingis, you don't like it.
No, I don't. No. It depends on what you get for him. But I'm saying, but if you're telling me we're not accepting trades for Porzingis and we're going to get Cousins, cool. But depending on what they get for him, to me that can make or break the DeMarcus Cousins situation with Dallas.
I mean, either way, he's going to be the starting five. Like either whether Porzingis is there or not, because what you're getting back from Porzingis, if you're Dallas, you're shopping off Porzingis right now, basically because you're trying to find a wing. That's the part. That's what they need right now. They need a wing. So you're trying to go and bring in a Harrison Barnes, a guy like that, to a Michael Porter Jr., like somebody like that who could come in and give you more as a three, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're telling me that's what you get back from Porzingis, then I still like that with DeMarcus Cousins being there.
And see, even with those two guys you just named, if you're telling me I'm getting Michael Porter Jr., okay. Harrison Barnes, I definitely don't see that being successful.
Well, that's not going to happen because they just had Harrison Barnes. Yeah, so that's not going to happen. I just threw him out there as an example.
Now, if you're telling me, hey, we're going out and get Bradley Beal or somebody like that, then yeah, of course, DeMarcus Cousins is going to thrive with that organization with that great of a wing player. And we already know what Luka is. They just they have to invest in the defensive side of the ball a little bit more to make everything come around. But what I saw from Houston, right, the DeMarcus Cousins in Houston, what I saw this year, let's say, for instance, they would have got the Lakers would have got DeMarcus Cousins, right, and he would be in the same shape, the same condition, and he plays the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about? Like, they would have their answer at the center position. To me, he's way better than what Gasol will be for the remainder of this year, or could be for the remainder of this year. DeMarcus Cousins is night and day to me better than Gasol at this point.
Yeah, and where we differ on that is, it's not that I don't think DeMarcus Cousins is better than Gasol. It's just it's a height and weight thing when it comes to that. It's Gasol being a 7 foot, 260, 70, 80 pound guy that's going to be there and be able to do something for you in some capacity on defense that DeMarcus Cousins just can't. Like, we're not going to DeMarcus to score, even though he can.
What is Gasol going to do for you defensively, like this year?
What you mean? Like, what you mean?
What presence is he? I mean,
he's a hell of a presence around the rim. He's been there.
You're going by just his height and size. That's what you're going by. You're not going by him actually playing defense, asked to stay in front of somebody or anything of that nature.
Who is he not staying in front of, Reg? What game have you sat down to watch and say, damn, Marcus Gasol just can't stay in front of Dwight Howard or like whatever center?
It's not necessarily that, but I've seen time after time when he has to shift or he gets caught in pick and roll my biggest thing is guys going over the top of him to lay the ball up and things of that nature. To me, he's just super slow, and you can tell he's on his last legs. Like, I don't even think that's hard to see.
Cousins isn't an athlete. He's never been an athlete to begin with.
He's never been athletic, and
So
when we spoke, like I told you, his IQ was definitely keeping him on the floor, keeping him in the NBA, all those type of things.
because you said that last week, and I said that's all I need from him at this point, because until playoff time, like that's all I need.
I think you're about the only Lakers fan right now that's content with Gasol, to be honest with you. I think you're the only Lakers fan I speak to that don't have a problem with Gasol.
And it's not that I don't have a problem. Like, I can I have a problem with everybody on the team. That's including LeBron and Anthony Davis. I can give you a problem for all of them, but he's not the reason we have 10 losses. I'll say that. Like, it's not him. And that's what he's not losing us games. We always talk about that with quarterbacks. He's not winning none for us, but he damn sure ain't losing them for us either.
I got you.
And if that changes, then hell yeah, then we got something else to talk about.
I got you.
I want to say it was two other NBA things I wanted to talk about. One was, what was it? I think it was the Porzingis coming up in trade speculation. I think that was it. And the other one was, I see that the Lakers have an interest now in Hassan Whiteside.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the Quinn Cook. Quinn Cook got waived last night too.
Official.
So that ties the Lakers' hands with DeMarcus Cousins too, because teams, like I said, teams can sign DeMarcus Cousins right now. Outside of, I think Milwaukee can't sign him right now. The Clippers can because of hard cap situations. And if the Lakers signed him, we wouldn't be able to bring in a 15th player, which they obviously want to open up. They opened up those two spots. Well, I already had one spot open and opened up the other one with Quinn Cook to be active in the trade and the buyout market.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more of a long game than, we want DeMarcus Cousins right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so cutting Quinn Cook, and then they're looking at Hassan Whiteside right now, who once again is somebody who, to me, I'm looking at it and saying, that's an absolute fit, But also, when we go back to the offseason, when me and you talked about them bringing in Montrezl Harrell, I feel like Dwight could have stuck around if the money was what it was going to, like, if that's all you was looking for is what you got paid for in Washington, you should have just stuck around.
See, now you feel like what I was saying from the beginning. Like
I said, I still stand where I look at Marcus Gasol and I look at Montrezl Harrell and saying, that's fine with me, But if it's, because the situation with the problem I have with the one problem I do have with Marcus Gasol, he gets in foul trouble early, every game. And that forces Montrezl Harrell to have to play more center than what we want him to do, which is why we have to go get another center.
Right.
That could have been Dwight Howard. Like, that could have already been solved,
Easily.
Foul trouble, okay, we still got Dwight to where Montrezl Harrell ain't got to get out here and try to guard Rudy Gobert for 20 minutes a night.
Right. And that's basically what I'm saying, is that the Lakers, to me, they're vulnerable when Anthony Davis is out of the game, period. Like, once he sit down, to me, there's nobody stepping up really protecting the rim. The way that, this is just me talking to you, the way when I think of a rim protector, I kind of think more of Whiteside or Dwight Howard, guys that are going to sell out by all costs and not allow you to, go above them to get a shot over their extended arm or whatever. If so, it's going to be a floater. But we see guys literally finger rolling the ball. I forgot what game that was I was watching there, maybe 2 weeks ago. Guards were literally jumping up, moving to the side, finger rolling that thing up over Gasol. I hate that the most about any part about Gasol's game to me. And he's not athletic. We know that. We know he's not athletic.
But also I think you think it's an ability thing. I think it's an effort thing. Which comes down to a lot of players in that at this point of the season on teams like that, teams that know that they looking at the long game instead of the short one, and because you see it from LeBron all the time. Look, I'm only gonna give you so much on defense because for one, we can win without it, but for two, I'm trying to be there in June.
I feel you. And see, I see it more of a father time thing. Like, if you tell me that a guy's going to start slowing down at 34, 35 years old, I go, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then you say, well, this guy's a center. He's a 7-footer. He wasn't athletic to start with. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, yeah. Well, this is right on time.
Yeah. And once again, I don't disagree with that. Time will tell which one of us is looking at it correctly, you know, because it could definitely go either way on that.
Yeah, I got you.
But that's all that I had for today, NBA wise. Of course, we wrapped up our NFL talk. Next week we'll come with another team. Next week we'll also come with another position group to tackle when it comes to NFL free agency. And I want to say the NBA may be on break by the time we get together because I know they're doing an All-Star. They're still doing an All-Star weekend or whatever. So they'll probably be on break. So we should have more to talk about. That trade deadline for the NBA is coming up quick. Today was the first day teams were able to start tagging NFL players. So we'll see how that goes. I saw a report earlier that said Dallas is so confident in Dak's rehab that they still really want to hammer out a long-term deal with him. So we'll see how that plays out. That's definitely something to talk about going forward. But that's all I have for today, man.
That's it. Don't be surprised if Cousins find a way to LA. They said that they're not interested in Cousins. However, they are monitoring the situation. I just don't want give up hope on that. I really think that there's a chance that he can possibly reunite with the Lakers.
Yeah, and at this point, like I say, it seems like a match made in heaven, right? But once again, when you look at it from a DeMarcus Cousins point of view, and you saying, well, he still has something to prove because once again, this is what his second or third year on a 1-year deal. He trying to get back to, you know, having that security of being with a team turn. Something weird that just came across my screen too is the Texans releasing Calamete, the guard. You remember him?
Oh wow, really? They released
what it was? Two seasons ago.
And he played guard, center, he played a little bit of everything.
One of the guys we like to have coming off of our bench. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get back in that market. So that was definitely interesting to see coming across my screen. But yeah, that's it for today, man.
Got you, man. Good show, Sid. Appreciate y'all.
Nigga, I'm in the league, you boys not in my league. If you listen close, I'm coaching. Take heed, cause the boy hella dope without pushing a Blanco. Still stabbing bitches like 94 in the Bronco. If it's about the money, I'm leaving them hoes pronto. If I don't do nothing, I'm about line so.